What's up guys, Justin Fuller here, and I am outside of a 2021 Honda Odyssey Touring, and I cannot believe I'm about to say this. From 2020 to 2021, this car just went down in price over $2,500. I know, that's shocking. Let's talk about how. Alright guys, so I want to start you off at the front of the car and talk about safety, because predominantly people who own this car are looking for a people mover, and two, they're looking for safety in a vehicle. So let's talk about that as we move in here. So on the front of the car, you will have parking sensors along with on the back of the car. And then additionally, I do want to point out right behind here is where the radar on the car is going to live. So if you're using your adaptive cruise control, or if you're using lane keep assist, it's going to use that radar. And then up top up here, I'm going to zoom in on this and see if we can get it. You can see a small trapezoid cut out of the top of the windshield. That's where the camera lives. It works for lane keep assist to keep you centered in your lane, or adaptive cruise control, right? Now on top of that, you have a road departure mitigation system. So if I start to drive off the shoulder of the road, it'll give you an audible alert and shake the wheel. Now, some things that they've added to this car that are really cool is a part of the adaptive cruise control. They now offer low speed follow. And what that means is this car will come all the way to a complete stop if you're using that adaptive cruise control. It'll designate it that space, it'll keep it for what you determine, and it'll take it down to the stop. And then afterwards, you can hit the gas, start it back up, and continue on your journey. Now, on top of that, they've also added the traffic recognition system, which you can find currently living in the Honda Accord. What's cool about this is, while navigation and a lot of systems out there will alert you to what the speed limit should be, they don't account for, speed traps and things like that. This car will use that camera that's right up top to pick up those traffic signs and alert you to speed changes. So it'll throw it up there on the dash for you so that you can keep track and make sure you don't get caught up in a speed trap. So another awesome feature that they've added that kind of tops on to the safety features in the car. Now, in this car, you've got 8 airbags, right? So I've got 2 front, 2 side, and 2 full curtain. Now, the full curtain airbags are gonna be set up with rollover sensors. So even if I don't hit a car, but I start to roll the car, they will go off to help prevent. The side airbags are going to be set up with occupant detection systems. So in the event that it's looking like I'm going to get hit and I'm pushed up against that airbag, it won't open and give me whiplash. Now on top of that, you've got your 2 front airbags, and then on top of those, there's 2 more. So there's 8 airbags total. You're going to have 2 airbags set up for your knees, right? So I just want to make you aware of those systems as far as safety goes. Now, standard safety features, you do have vehicle stability assist, which works with your traction control, which I'll actually show you where that button's located and let you know that it's always on and running. So that is going to be right here, so you can notice that button right there, and that's going to be your vehicle stability assist. On top of that, you have electronic brake distribution and some other features working to your advantage. All right guys, so here I am at the back of this Honda Odyssey Touring, and there's a couple things I want to point out, and this helps explain how they've given up that $2,500, right? So the first 2 things are, 1, the vacuum cleaner no longer exists in the Touring, so you're not going to find it over here on the side where you normally would. However, there is a space and there is an AC vault, so if I wanted to get my own, I could absolutely store something right here, and then I do have power that I can get to, which is right over here additionally too, right? So I've got both sitting right here, so I could work with that. Now, secondarily, the other thing that you're giving up is going to be that sensor that you can throw your foot under. So now you're going to have to work from here, or you can work off your key as far as opening and closing that tailgate. All this means is that it won't have a sensor where you could normally walk up and throw your foot under, right? So not the end of the world. I can still use this from my hand with the key in the pocket, or I can work off the doors, or of course I've got my key fob that I can work from, right? So those are 2 of the things that they gave up. Not big things for $2,500. While we're at the back of the car though, let's talk about a couple things here. So as far as throwing down your seats, still the same features. All I gotta do is pull and I can fold these magic seats away. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side just to show you that I can do it one-handed. So even if I had bags and stuff in my hands, I could absolutely work it. So that is your 3rd row, right? I can fold this away and create storage. While we have this pop open, I will point out that you do have plugins for headphones. It does come with a set of 2 wireless headphones, but if you wanted to plug in back here, you absolutely could and work from that now. You do have another power outlet here, and then of course you do have air vents back here, and that's the same setup on the other side. So USBs, which they've added in this 3rd row, they've added the additional USB, and then you do have sunshades back here. So if I want to throw a sunshade up, I absolutely could for my 3rd passenger. So now let's talk about something that's really cool about this car. Let's talk about lounge mode. So when it comes to lounge mode, it's one of the coolest features that this vehicle offers that not that many people know about. So when you're at the back of the car, of course, you've already got some shade set up here, but a lot of people will set up, your chairs here. But what you didn't know is that you can throw this seat back and keep it locked out. So if I pull it and leave it, it'll stay locked. So now I can actually hop into this seat back here. I can enjoy watching a soccer game or anything going out in front of me. I've got shade above me to protect me from the sun. and I could sit back here with a little bit of AC blowing on my neck because I've got those vents in the third row. This is really nice if you're out at a baseball game, a tournament, a soccer field, whatever it may be. You can create some shade. Maybe you're just picnicking and you want to be in the shade and you want to enjoy a little bit of AC and be able to hear your music. You can absolutely do that. So take advantage of lounge mode if you're in the Honda Odyssey. All right, guys, so before we hop inside the car, I wanted to talk to you about performance and what's under the hood of this Honda Odyssey 2021 Touring model. So you have a 3.5 liter V6 engine. This engine has been very common. You'll find it in the Ridgeline, you'll find it in the Passport, you'll find it in the Odyssey. Any of my 6-cylinder vehicles, the Pilot, are all gonna have this exact same Earth Dreams technology engine, right? So 3.5 liter V6 engine. I've got my brake distribution over here. I've got a fuse box set up over here. I've got my air going on the right side, and then you can see my battery terminals are gonna be right back here if you can catch them, right? All right, so while I'm up here and we're talking about performance of the car, let's talk about some of the other cars that it competes against. So whether it be a Chrysler Pacifica or maybe a Toyota Sienna. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and throw this up on the screen so you don't have to look at my beautiful face, and that way you can see kind of what the horsepower is across the board. All right, guys, so here I am in the third row of this Honda Odyssey Touring, and as you can see, as a 6-footer, I've actually got a good amount of space here, and I've got this seat pushed all the way back, and I can recline this a little bit, so it's actually a comfortable ride. So as a 6-footer, if we were taking a long journey, I would actually be okay. Now, as you look forward, I do want to point out a couple things I've done here. So I have pulled out that center seat to create captain's chairs, and these are on a sliding system, so I'll show you how these work in just a second. But I just wanted to let you know that as a third row passenger, you could fit easily 2 adults here that are 6 foot and be just fine. All right, so as second row passengers, I want to point out a couple things. And first is this is on a rail system. So all I've got to do is grab right here and I can slide these all the way across. So whether I'm creating space for passengers to climb through here, or if I just want to sit in the center because I want to see out the front windshield, I have this entire rail system that I can work on. And these seats are removable, so what makes it nice is that I can remove and slide seats around. So depending on what kind of seating arrangement you want, this is probably one of the most versatile cars that you can get in as far as Honda's lineup. Now, as a second row passenger, I once again have plenty of space and I'm on a rail system, so I can slide the seats forward and backwards, right? And then I've set up the captain's chairs like I mentioned earlier, but we could add in that third row that third section if we want to have seating for 8, right? So easy to understand. Now from the back, let's talk about what you have available to you. So at first I do want to point out that you of course have pockets on the back of your seats, which you also have in the third row now, which is new to the 2021 model. Of course I do have USBs down here and an HDMI input that relates to my Blu-ray player that you'll see right up here. Now while I have this Blu-ray player running, I wanted to show you something. This is the How Much Further app. So it's kind of cool for kids. Everybody's been in that situation where you're going, how much further? Are we almost there yet? Are we there yet now, right? This actually connects to the navigation of the car and will track the trip and show your kids. So it's kind of an interactive way to keep them engaged without having to ask every 10 minutes, are we almost there yet? Will they probably ask? Absolutely, they probably will, but know that you have something to kind of keep them entertained. Now, additionally in this vehicle, you do have sunshades in the second row, so you can see them, they are actually right there. And as I move the back seats, I want to point out a couple things. One, I can close the seats from here, and of course I do have air vents. And I want to point something out here. So if I get my hands caught in here, I want to point out that there are sensors on this. So it won't close and hurt anyone, right? So if you got little bitty fingers, you don't have to worry about them getting in there or reaching out of a car seat and getting smushed. The same goes for your moonroof. So before we head up to the front of this car, I wanted to talk about the second row, right? So here is actually that piece that was in the second row, and related to storage in the back, not only can I store this, but I can store additional too, right? So if I had strollers, if I had bags, if I had anything like that, this would actually be the ideal car. While you could go with a Pilot, you do have incredibly more space in this vehicle. On top of that, if we were comparing this to a Pilot or an SUV, your seating arrangement here is way more versatile when it comes to that. Now, moving around to the sides, you have a lower point of entry. So when we're comparing to SUVs, this is always gonna come on top, right? Little kids can reach the door handles, they can get themselves in and out of the car much easier. And then I can set up the climb through, right? So not all of my Pilots are gonna offer a feature like this, and they're definitely not gonna offer this sliding rail system to where I can help people in and out of the car, or I could run long boards or do anything I need to related to my storage and necessities. All right, so before we enter the inside of this front row, I want to talk to you about some changes they've made in 2021. So the first being that not only do you have lower lumbar support on your driver's side, but now you have it on your passenger side as well for this vehicle. So if you're taking a long trip, how fantastic is that you can adjust and you could switch seats and kind of take turns driving. On top of that, they've now made the stitching in the car counter to what the colors of the leather. So I'm going to bring you in here to show you it, but you can see that it's going to show off the stitching a little bit more in the vehicle. So depending on what color interior you get, you're gonna notice that the stitching is gonna be a different color from it. So just another change that they've made as you enter the front of the vehicle. So let's go ahead and hop in and talk about what's on the dash and everything else with it. All right, so as we come in on the door, I just want to point out that you have your window controls, of course your window locks, your door locks, and then your mirror controls. And then you do have memory seating in this car, so it's as easy as just pressing a button and then pressing set once you would have it adjusted to the height that you want. Now, as we move into the car, I want to point out a couple different features here. So over here, you'll notice that I do have the controls for my door, so I can open and control them, and of course I can lock them right here. I can of course open my tailgate, so I have that control right here. We talked about vehicle stability assist earlier, and then of course you do have parking sensors, so part of that safety on this vehicle is the front and back parking sensors on the car. Now, if I press this button, it's gonna pull up some of my Honda sensing features. All right, so the screen you're currently seeing is gonna be part of my Honda sensing package. So the first one you can see is my road departure mitigation system. So it's letting me know that it's turned on. And this means if I start to drive off the shoulder of the road, the car will give me an audible alert, and then it'll actually shake the wheel to say, hey, wake up, pay attention, to make sure I'm doing what I should. Now, if I scroll down one, it's gonna pull up my blind spot information system. So I have blind spot information details right here. So it's gonna alert me, it's gonna come on and light up if it's in my blind spot, and then if I start to try to get over, it'll actually send off an audible alert for me. Now, if I scroll one more down, we're gonna come to the collision mitigation braking system. So this works in congruency with that adaptive cruise control, but how this works is, if it's looking like I'm gonna rear in another car, first it'll give me an audible alert, then it'll flash in the dash, and then it'll actually apply the brakes to help prevent the accident. Now, how it's doing that is it's using that radar down in the front of the grille that we looked at earlier, and it's using that camera that's actually living up right here. So that's what it's detecting out in front to help determine where these cars are to help prevent this accident. So that's part of this Honda sensing button that you're seeing right here. All right, so when it comes to the steering wheel, I feel like most of these are gonna be pretty self-explanatory, but let's just whirl through them real quick. So I've got my volume controls right here, and then my Bluetooth controls down here, so to answer call, to hang up, and then use voice command. I can use this as part of the navigation system, and this also works with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which I'll go over here momentarily. Of course, I do have a back button, so if you jump into a menu you shouldn't be, and then a home button, which will always take me to my home screen. Now, that home screen that I'm talking about is gonna be right up here. So here we are on the home screen, right? And I can scroll down to different things, so whether it's a tripometer, whether I want navigation, if I have navigation up and running, it'll show me. If I don't, it'll actually throw me a compass right there. So if you're one of those users who likes a compass, know that you have it available to you. If not, it'll give me turn directions as I'm heading down the road. Now, as I keep moving down, trip info, my phone, if I want to hop into contacts or anything like that, and then I'm going to continue down this screen. You can see now playing, so any audio that I would be listening to. So you can see that I have the rear entertainment system pulled up currently because that's what I was using. Now, what's cool about this is that I can jump around through my audio, right? So if I just press up or down, which I'll show you where I'm doing that, just using these right here, I can press up and down. It'll allow me to jump out here and kind of jump over to other options I have available to me. And we'll go over some of those options here momentarily. So as we continue on, I just want to point out that you can switch between kilometers an hour. You can jump into some settings. So if you want to move different icons around and rearrange stuff, if you want to turn your tachometer on and off, so you can see it coming on and off there, you absolutely could. So just some different customizations that you have available. And then this safety support, this jumps over to that exact same screen I was just showing you momentarily ago. So these are just some of the different things you'll see here. Right here, I can pull up my tire pressure. What I like about this is it shows it per tire, making life a little bit easier, and then your oil life will pop up here additionally too. So just some of the menus that you can see, and as I'm working through those, I'm just using these buttons right here, right? So easy enough to understand, use the home button and then toggle through. Now on the right side is part of my Honda sensing features, right? So this is gonna be my lane keep assist and adaptive cruise control. So if I wanna use these features, all I would have to do is make sure that I have them turned on, right? So if I press a button like this is my lane keep assist. And when I press that, you're gonna see it come up on here. And those are dotted lines and they're not currently filled in. When they fill in solid, it means it's now actively reading the road. So typically you gotta be over 45 miles an hour to get it to read the road to keep you centered. Now what's cool about this is lane keep assist is a little bit different from my adaptive cruise control. My adaptive cruise control is now set up to where it has low speed follow, meaning that once I set this, if I drop down and come down and I'm cruising at 5 miles an hour because we're stuck in a traffic jam, it'll continue to work for me. And how I would set that is I would get up to speed, press set, and then use this button to set the distance I want to keep. And as I press that button, what it'll allow me to do is, select the amount of distance I want. So as I'm hitting it, you can see more and more boxes means more distance, right? So easy enough to understand as far as how I use this tool. So all you need to use is this button to make sure you have them turned on, and then from here you can work with lane keep assist, or you can use your adaptive cruise control. So as we move across the dash, I'll point that you always are going to have black on the tops, and then typically underneath it could be any different color of one of the options that they offer. What I like about this is that they set the touchscreen nice and high and it's angled to where I can keep an eye on it and keep an eye on the road. And then of course I do have my digital display back here, which is nice, with a nice big digital display as far as my speed goes. So you're not using an analog look, which you will sometimes find in cars still. So it's a nice look. And then of course my shifter right here is set up to be buttons. Probably gets some of the most controversy and the weirdest looks, but it's easy to understand. So let's just talk through it real quick. So if I throw it in reverse, it'll automatically pop on. You'll see that my backup camera comes on. And then additionally, the way, depending on what you have the mirror set up, I always like to point this out, is that it'll dip that mirror down. Now I'm gonna flip it over to the right side and just show you that this works. If I flip it down, you'll notice it angles down the mirror for me. And if I don't want it to angle the mirrors down at all I've got to do is center this to where it's not on the left or the right side, right? And then it'll keep it to where neither mirror flips down. So just something to be aware of. Now I've got my neutral right here and then of course my drive, but I'm gonna flip back to that backup camera one more time here just to show you a couple things here. So I've got 3 different views on this backup camera. So I've got a wide angle view, giving you about 170 degrees of looking. I've got a standard backup camera and then one aimed straight down. So this is where my hatch is gonna open up to. So if I was backing up to my garage and it was raining, I'd wanna make sure that I was at least right here in my garage so I could open this and get my belongings out without hitting the garage door. If I'm parallel parking, I want to use that solid line, so that's where that comes into play. And those 2 lines are on every single screen that you'll see here. So just so you see them, you absolutely know what's going on. Now you do have cross traffic monitoring in this car, meaning that if somebody's coming from my left or right, it'll give me an audible alert and a visual alert on the screen showing me which way they're coming from, right? So a fantastic additional safety feature that you have related to your backup camera. On top of that, this car does have parking sensors. So as I back up to something, it's actually gonna give me alerts. So as you can see right there, I'm getting the alerts not only here, but additionally, it'll give me an alert up here. All right, guys, so when it comes to using your touchscreen, I just want to walk you through some different features here real quick and explain exactly what they are. So the first being your navigation system here. So the car comes with built-in navigation through Garmin. So I just want to touch on this and let you know, right now I've got something already pulled up and, taking us to a local grocery store, just so you could see and understand that I've got a compass here and several things that I can use. To end that, it's as simple as that. Press here and I can then search, and I've got a lot of different options as far as ways that I can search. So whether you want to search by category, if you're just looking for gas or restaurants in the area, you can absolutely do it. So very easy to use. It's Garmin. They've been doing it for years. If you don't want to use that, I will switch over and just show you real quick that I have Android Auto currently set up, but it car also comes with Apple CarPlay, and I could use Google Maps or I could jump over to Waze if I wanted to. So I have different options, right? So let me scroll down here and I could jump into my Waze setup if I wanted to. If you're an Apple Map user, you could do that additionally also. So I'm gonna jump back out of that screen here and go. All right, so the car does come with 90 days of a hotspot. After that, I believe it is $10 to $15 a month. So if you wanted to continue that service, you absolutely could. It's very easy to use. All you gotta do is turn on this power button once everything loads up. And then of course you can see your passwords and everything right there. So easy to understand. It's set up to AT&T. All you have to do is hop on their website and you can find it if you want to set the hotspot in your car. Now, 2 features that really make this car more unique and stand out from other cars such as a Pacifica and such as, a Sienna are gonna be right here. So first being your cabin watch, right? This gives me the ability to view my backseat drivers. And what's cool about this is that this is infrared too. So this will work at night. So even if I don't have any light back there, I can see them. So if something's going on, I have the ability to take a look and see what's going on. Additionally, even if it's not your kids, it's your dogs, or if it's just cargo that's sliding around, right? I may have those all folded down. I can view this. And then when I'm jumping back over, cabin talk. So cabin talk's a really cool feature. I can turn this mic on and then I can then talk to the passengers in the back of the vehicle. So it will mic up them, and additionally it will work to their headphones, which is a really cool idea that it can do. So knowing that I could be talking to them while they're watching a DVD, so I'm not yelling or trying to tap them, is a fantastic feature to have. Now additionally, I want to come back to this real quick because this car now in the 2021 model offers a reminder. So when you go to exit the car, it's going to throw up the screen to remind you, hey, do you have anything in that second or third row? Whether it be passengers, dogs, children, whatever that item may be, know that you're going to have this pop up, and that's just this additional safety feature the car has. So those are 2 of the features that probably make this car stand out, a little bit more than some of the other cars out there on the market. Right now, Android Auto, majority of cars either offer one or both at this point, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which Honda does offer. And this just gives me access to my maps, my music, my messages, podcasts, all kinds of different things that I can access. So I'm gonna take a second real quick here and just throw you up some of the most popular apps that you'll find. So this way, if you're thinking, hey, what all can I use? What apps kind of translate over? Take a look, see if there's something that, fancies you. And if there is, know that you could download that app that you see on the screen right now and use that concurrently, right? So now let's move back out of that and let's jump out of this. All right, so as we talked about the rear entertainment system earlier, we talked about the How Much Further app, but let's talk about what additionally you have. So of course I do have HDMI input, so if I wanted to plug in like a gaming system or do some different things, I absolutely could. It is a Blu-ray player, which actually exists up front here, so it's actually right down below me. And then on top of that, it will play CDs. So if I just wanted to listen to music, let's say you're still holding on to those CDs, you're one of the few, know that you have the advantage to use those. Of course, you can play Spotify through here and along with the iHeartMedia, but you also have the option to use these to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto additionally too. So just know that you have some features here, and then the USB that I can store things to and play, right? So now you understand the rear entertainment system. My Honda Music, this is really cool. If I'm plugging into one of the USBs, I would be able to import files and save those files to the computer system on the car. So it just allows me to store music to the car, right? Now, social playlist is a really cool feature. I really like this. What it does is it gives you the ability to all add songs to a playlist together, and you just have to be on the same Wi-Fi. So if I was selecting this, I could then go to my social playlist, or excuse me, the cabin control app, right? So the cabin control app, I can pull it up and I immediately start connecting to the car. Once I've done that, we could then all add music to one playlist. So that way we're not listening to just one person's music. We could share the music together, right? So very cool feature that exists in this car. One that you could definitely use. You just have to connect up. Once you've connected the two, then you can go from there. All right, so moving away from that. Let's scroll over here. You've got FM. It does come with HD radio stations. I don't think I need to talk too much about that, but just know that you have it. And then secondarily, as we continue to move through, USBs we talked about, you can store music to. You do get 90 days of free satellite radio. You do have a trip computer that you can pull up here. Bluetooth audio, we all know how that works. System updates, right? Over here, I do have a small aux input, so the 9mm jack. And then of course, I do have a clock where I can store wallpapers. I can even store my own image here, so if I wanted to do that, I could come over to clock wall, faces. And then I could, plug in a USB and add an additional image. So something cool that you can do in this car. Now, as we talked about, that SMS text function will read text aloud to you. If you have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto set up, it will also do that same feature and give you the ability to use that voice control button to, send a response back. Now, Honda Link is really cool. When you first connect with your phone, one of the things it's going to question and ask you is, hey, in the event of a frontal collision, would you like us to be able to call 911 for you? So it's 100% free, and how that works is that if you do get an accident, they'll call down for you. If you don't answer, they can then call 911 and send them out to you, because they can use your GPS location, your make and model. So they're going to know a lot more about where you're at and what you're in to be able to describe that to EMS so they can get to you quicker. So a free safety feature here. Now, on top of that, you can use some additional features here. Then if you go to HondaLink.com, you can see what those subscription-based services are, because you do get trials for some of them, like being able to start your car from your phone, and of course being able to do the door locks from your phone additionally too. And then they offer like a concierge service, some other things related to that, right? So under settings, there is a couple things I always like to show you, and that's going to be under vehicle. Now, if I'm under the vehicle, this is where you can control your door locks and window locks. So I just like to point these out real quick. As you scroll through here, you can see door setup. Right now the car is set up when I hit 10 miles an hour to automatically lock the doors. If I want to change that, I absolutely can. So depending on if I want to shift to park or turn it off. And then scrolling one more down, auto door unlock. When I'm getting out of the car, when the driver's side door open, it then unlocks the remaining doors of the car. Maybe your driver takes a little bit too long to get out and you want to change this to when the ignition turns off or out of park. So just know that these features are here, and I'll back out and show you exactly where I went. So if I back all the way out here, I go to settings. So let me come across the settings. From here, I'm going to select vehicle, and then I would want to go into here, and door setup is what I'm looking for, right? So just be aware that you have those features available to you if you want to play with them. There are some nice options in here and different things that you can customize your car. All right, guys, so as we head down the road, I just want to talk to you about a couple things, and of course the comparisons to the other vehicles that are out there. So if you're looking at this car, chances are you're comparing it to one of probably a couple other cars. One being the Chrysler Pacifica, and two being the Toyota Sienna. Now, I did learn recently that the new Toyota Sienna is only going to be offered in a all-wheel drive model, but specifically it's only going to be offered in a hybrid model, which I like the idea of. I think it's fantastic. However, what I don't like is that typically hybrids, if the battery does go out, you are looking at a $3,000 to $4,000 replacement cost, right? And I've found that most people who own minivans typically own them for quite a long time, so this is a potential thing that you could run into. Now, I have seen that Toyota and Honda typically offer a lot of the same warranties, so I would guess they'll probably offer you a 100,000 miles, 7-year warranty. But the question is, how much do you drive, and is that something that's worth you? So just something to note as you move forward if you're shopping around and looking at other vehicles. Now, if you're looking at the Chrysler Pacifica, it does come in a standard gasoline engine that would regularly compete with this vehicle. So as we get ready to take off here, we're going to check out that 3.5 liter V6 engine. We're looking at, I believe, 280 horsepower coming off of this. So here in a second, we are going to give it some gas. We're going to go and see kind of what the 0 to 60 would be. Now, if you're talking about 0 to 60s, I want to say that the 0 to 60 time on the Honda, I believe, is right around 7 seconds, and just the same as the Toyota Sienna. So if you're comparing the two, it's actually quite, right in the ballpark. Now, I don't know that you're going to win drag races, but if you didn't notice, I got to speed incredibly quick in this vehicle, so it has got some go. juice as it shifts through that transmission system. So just something to be aware of. You have plenty of get up and go if you need to get around somebody on the highway. Now, as far as gas mileage goes, related to the Toyota, I'll throw you up there what it currently is so you can kind of compare it, and that way you can see, hey, moving forward, what does the gas mileage look? And then I'll put the Chrysler up on the screen too, so you can see all three of ours as far as where we live, as far as the gas mileage goes in the vehicle. Now let's talk about cargo space and your third row. So typically Honda has always won this out, right? So you are gonna find, I think, a little bit more space if you're looking at the Toyota and perhaps the Chrysler, but where you're gaining that all back is that you have more, people space, I should say, in the Honda. So you're gonna have that additional space for your passengers. And you can really see it in that third row that I showed you earlier, where I can sit as a 6-footer and fit comfortably back there. Whereas if you hop in a lot of new cars, or especially SUVs, that third row, it exists and you can throw a dog back there or maybe a small child, but that's about it, let's be honest. So that would be related to your cargo and of course your passenger volume space. Now, as far as what makes this car unique and different from the others out there, let's talk about that for a second. Of course, I have, all of my regular Honda sensing features. So I've got my lane departure system, I've got my lane keep assist system, right, which I'm gonna turn on and make sure are both actively running right now so that I can adjust these and use them. And then on top of that, I have my forward collision warning system. I do have my traffic sign recognition system, which is actually running right now, which is such a cool feature that it'll determine any traffic signs that I pass. You won't find that traffic feature in a lot of these other comparisons or comparable vehicles. You may find a lane departure system, or you may find something similar to an adaptive cruise control, which you can see I'm using right now. It's actually keeping me centered in my lines as we travel down the road. So working great. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop off the highway. Now, other features that kind of make this car stand out from those others that don't exist are going to be things like cabin watch, which is the camera that you can pull up on the screen that's infrared, where I can see my passengers in the second and even the third row, whether it be daytime or nighttime. That doesn't exist in these other two models. And then additionally, you have the cabin talk feature, which allows you to talk to those second and third row passengers. If they have the headphones on, it'll cut that out and allow them to hear you. So that way, if you're asking, hey, where do y'all want to eat, or whatever the situation may be, you'll find that feature additionally too. You don't find that typically in the other two options out there. Now, lastly, let's talk about how this vehicle compares to the previous generation, so that 2020 model. So some differences that you're gonna see. We talked about the traffic recognition system, so it'll pick up those street signs and tell me what the speed is. Up front, you've got a full LED setup. Depending on the trim level, you now have the Honda sensing features in all trim levels. You have a standard as far as your transmission goes, so it's not, multiple different gears and setups, so that's gonna live across all the lines. So really the biggest changes are gonna be in those bottom levels. But as far as the Touring model, what got you that $2,500 cheaper price tag, which I'll throw up the old MSRP and I'll throw up the new MSRP so you can see them, it's going to be that you're giving up that vacuum cleaner. You got to climb up to the Elite to get that now. And you're giving up the sensor off the back of the car where you can throw your foot under it and it'll open the door for you. You still have smart key entry. You still have the ability to remote start the car. You still have the ability to open the tailgate from your, from your key. So you have all these features still available to you. You're just giving up a couple of them. So if that's worth saving $2,500, which to me it absolutely is, I would highly recommend that if you're looking at a Honda Odyssey, you go with the 2021 model, especially if you're looking at the Touring model. Now, if you're looking at one of the other trim levels, it may be a different comparison, but as far as the Touring model goes, get the newer model with less miles and save money. It's a win-win all the way around. Outside of that, the only thing I'll say in conclusion about this car would be, one, if you're looking at and comparing this to like an SUV, I highly would recommend this car for two different reasons. One, point of entry, it's lower to the ground, kids can get it out, they can reach the door handles, you've got sliding doors, so getting car seats in and out is way easier. The versatility in the seating is entirely different from an SUV and better. And then on top of that, I've got the rail system back here, I've got the fold-away third row, and I've got the lounger mode in the very back, and I've got more cargo space than you would find in like a Highlander, you'd find in a Pilot, any of these other vehicles out there. So you're getting overall more cargo space, you're getting overall a better and more versatile seating setup, and then as far as just being kid-friendly, this car is going to give you more entries, more safety features to protect little fingers from doors, and then of course things like cabin watch and cabin talk that you won't find in those SUVs. So if you're comparing this to an SUV, whether it be Honda, Toyota, or anybody else out there, I would highly recommend that you look at this version, only because it's not as sexy, we can all admit that, but it does make a lot of sense. Outside of that, if you have any questions about the car or any of the comparisons or anything else, feel free to reach out. If there's something you think that I missed that I should go over next time, or that you wish I'd make a quick video on just for you, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that. Other than that, I want to say thank you for listening, thank you for watching, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. I like to hear what you think. Other than that, later guys!